accurate count in the 2020 census. I am non-denominational, and I'm just happy to be here. This topic of Esther is one that is near and dear to my heart, so I'm curious to see what this is going to lead to tonight. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. We're so glad to have you. All right, Prophetess Tamika, please greet us and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone, and good morning. My name is Prophetess Tamika Wright. I am a faithful follower and servant of the Lord Jesus Christ. As far as the marketplace, I've been a director for internal affairs for a lot of Fortune 5,000 companies throughout my career. I've had a 20-year career doing that. But as far as serving the Rock ATL, I serve under Apostle Dr. David E. Jackson as the director of our live experience. And I'm so thankful to be here with you.
Thank you, Prophetess. Thank you. And then Reverend Sharice Butler.
Hi, good morning. And thank you so much for having me, Apostle Jackson. Yes, I'm Reverend Sharice from the great city of Detroit, Michigan. And I currently serve as the youth pastor at St. Paul African Methodist Episcopal Church, and then also the coordinator for women in ministry for the Michigan Annual Conference of the AME Church. And I'm just actually really glad to be a part of this work. I serve bivocationally, so serve the Christian ministry full-time, as well as I am the assistant director of government and community affairs for Detroit Public School Community District. And this is just serving as a moment of confirmation about strategic placement with regard to God placing us in spaces to make changes with respect to policy. So I look forward to a very rich conversation. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And again, to you great women of God, thank you for being with us. So I read the story of Esther, and Esther is in a very interesting position, right? She has been selected out of countless women to become the queen in a country that's not her people's origin. These are Jewish people in captivity. She is selected to be the queen, and all of a sudden, one of the high rulers in this government, Haman, has an odd against Jewish people and then gets permission from the king to kill Jewish people. Mordecai, the man that raised Esther, sends word to her and says, listen, girl, I need you to go in there and talk to your man and get him to change his mind. She's like, sir, with all due respect, even though he's my man, there's protocol. If he doesn't send for me, and everybody knows this, if he doesn't send for me and I go, it could cost me my life. And he hasn't sent for me in 30 days. I want to ask you all, as Black women in the fields of speak from, not only just your ministry perspective, but also from marketplace and community involvement. In what ways does Esther's position in this particular place relate to the reality of many Black women who are in certain key positions, but they still have to deal with red tape and bureaucracy and politics? And now many people are calling upon them to speak up for their people, to speak up in this time. What has helped you to sit in that tension of being strategically positioned, but still having to deal with politics, even though people are pressuring you to do things? What's helped you to kind of navigate that space?
Well, I think, as I thought about this question, I thought about my age. I mean, and I'm just going to put it out there. Once you turn 50, all right, and I'm 58, by almost 59, you don't care. Because when it comes to somebody getting hurt, your children not getting what they need, your people not getting what they need, your mom in the hospital, they ain't treating her right. It's about somebody else's life, okay? So if you're going to kill me, all right, fine, but don't kill my mother. Don't kill my children. Don't destroy these lives. So silence to me can be approval. And so as a person who was very quiet when I was young, that didn't get me anywhere. The older I got, the more I used my voice, because I realized my voice is the instrument of the Lord.
So I would say that I think it's remembering who you are. Esther was a Jew. And so for me, I identify very much with Esther's social location. I went back and did a little homework. It says she's without mother, she's without father, she's adopted, right? She's not one of them. She doesn't fit in, yet she's in this place of power. And so I think we always have to remember our identity and the assignment that we've been called to. And so it was strategic when she went there in the first place. So you always have to remember your assignment. She was assigned to be in that place. And so her assignment may not have come to fruition, 5-10 years down the road, but it's remembering who you are. I am you. That the issues and the Jews that you're talking about, that they've been commissioned to kill. You're talking about killing my mother, my brother, my sister, my cousin. So every day when I'm in the policy world fighting for the children of Detroit, I am a child of Detroit. I am a child that grew up with all of the disparities from 7 Mile and Van Dyke, moved back to the neighborhood after coming from New York, and struggle with staying in this place of social location. But it helps my fight every day when I get to see the children that I'm fighting for. So it's remembering who you are. We are one. And so you've never made it, so we've all made it.
So that principle of, I am because we are is huge in African cosmology. And I think that, Black women, just want to encourage you all to remember that wherever God has allowed you to arrive in life, it's not just for you. God has strategically put you there for your people. Prophetess Tamika, what would you add to that? And then I'll go to Coach D.
Yeah, what I would say is, for the most part, just like Queen Esther, she didn't ask to be put in that position at all. And most of the time, many of us, we're not asking to be put in those positions either. But it is God who chooses and picks us before the foundation of the earth. So a lot of times, he has selected the experiences that we will go through in life. All of those things come together for your calling eventually. A lot of times you don't know exactly what that is. For example, I remember as a kid, my mom, being a prophetess as well, would often tell me that God is going to use you and he's going to give you a voice. Well, because I could naturally sing, I thought immediately, oh, well, I'm going to sing for the Lord. But oh, no, that's not what he meant. He meant that I would actually be using my voice for such a time as this. And so when I look around now and I see everything that is going on, we learned from the past. We learned from, Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and all of those. But guess what? Now this is a new time, a new generation. And guess who? We're looking for someone to step up and speak. But guess who that person is? It's us now. We are that voice. So, that's how I identify with her. She didn't ask to be in that role. She was thrust into that role. And a lot of times when God is calling and pushing you towards greatness, that's exactly what happens. Amen.
It's true. He just pushed you right on out there, don't he? He don't ask your permission. And he often doesn't give you much notice. He just kind of push you on out there.
I definitely agree with Prophetess Tamika. When I thought about Esther, the first thing that came to mind for me was our potential, but God's plan. Esther had the potential to be the queen. She had the potential to go in to do all of those things. She fit the bill that they requested, young, beautiful virgins. So she had the potential to go in for that, not knowing that God already had a plan in place. And so I think that it's very important for us that we understand wherever God has strategically placed us, or should I say divinely displaced us, we should be ready to move when it's necessary to move. I like it in chapter 4 when you read and she said that, if I perish, then I perish. And Mordecai also reminds her, how do you not know that you have not been chosen for such a time as this? And I just truly believe that we're in a season where women are called to step up. We're called to step up to the plate. I say that, step up to the plate and take one for the team. And when I say take one for the team, I mean the voice that we have, the things that we say and the moves that we make, it cannot be something that comes from a place of selfishness where we're just simply trying to advance what it is our agenda might be. But we have to think about everybody else that we're either pulling along or we're pushing along, to make sure that when we do make these moves, that it's going to help our people and people as a whole. So I just believe that we have to keep in mind and remember that anytime we have the potential to do a thing, we need to look past that and find out what God's plan is for that thing and move accordingly.
A question came to my mind. It's not on the questions that I sent, but I think you all will be able to answer this question. I think it's important to talk about the relationship between Mordecai and Esther, right? Mordecai was Esther's uncle. He raised her. And it's two things going on here I really want you ladies to speak to. One, he's in the protest. Like I said, prayer, protest, and policy. Esther's in a policy position. Mordecai is in a protest position. He's in the gate speaking truth to power, alerting the people what's happening. He's not threatened by the fact that he's not positioned in policy. In fact, he lets her know what's going on so that she can be well informed to go into the king and do what must be done. If it was one thing you could say to Black men about supporting Black women who may be positioned different from them to help the cause, what would you say?
I think the one thing that I would definitely say to Black men, first of all, is that we are on the same team. We're not against each other. So because I may be in a better position or may be in position, for the cause, it's okay for you to be okay with giving me information, keeping me in the loop as to what's going on in an area that I'm not in. We said that Mordecai was in the protest position. So that means that Mordecai basically had his ear to the people. He knew what was going on. He knew what was being said, while Esther was in this sheltered place in the kingdom, not really knowing what was going on, but like you said, strategically placed for policy. And so I think it's a two-way street. I think that the men have to understand that we're here as a team player, and the woman also has to understand that allowing that man to still give her information, to still provide her with what's going on, is not lessening who she is, or lessening her position of where she stands.
I think that Coach D hit the nail on the head. This actually makes me think of my work ever so closely. I have a group of brothers that tend to stand on the front line. And so it is so intriguing that we reinforce so often that, and what I would say to them is that we have each other's back, and that it goes back to that same principle that we are one, right? We have to be one unit of, as you're saying, protest, policy, and prayer. During the recent protests here in Detroit, I had some brothers that were marching every day and night. But the wonderful thing about this is that they would send me pictures. They would give me intel. They would let me know we were planning a big rally, and I knew who the dissenters were. I knew what the adversary was going to do before we ever got there, because there were some brothers on the front line fielding defense. And so the really magical thing was that I could take that message back to the king per se and say, hey, when we go out there tomorrow, they've already said that 1, 2, 3, 4 are going to be there trying to cause a ruckus. And so I just bless God for this moment, really confirming a lot of the work. And a number of the brothers that are on the front line, they're also men of God that serve. And so it's amazing. We're like, what are we doing in this work? Like literally set in policy work, but it is so amazing. There's a young man, and he brings a bunch of teenagers to come with him in particular. And so you see this mantle and this intergenerational movement. And sometimes I get upset that I'm not on the front line. I want to get out there. I've only been out there one time, but I also have to remember my assignment. I'm sitting there just taking it all in. And then we're formulating strategies for the next move. And this is just such a moment of confirmation that I would say of really, I think, solidifying and feeling firmed up in the seat that I sit in, because I do want to get out there sometimes and raise my hand and be a part of the protest. But I'm here for Esther. Okay.
Yeah. Well, Reverend Sharice, one of the things that God has really prompted me to tell people is wherever God has put you, prayer, protest, or policy, be okay with that and give it all you got. They all connect. And and really, honestly, as Black people, we don't have the choice to really sit in one place anyway. We all got to pray, because this is a spiritual battle anyway. Amen. And then outside of prayer, it's either going to be that protest and or that policy. And so learning how to be okay, because God knows how he has formed us and shaped us and wounded us for where we are. And some people have been shaped and formed and wounded and processed for protest, and others have been for policy. And so wherever we are, we should just give it all we got. Elder Clark, what would you say?
So my husband and I work with a lot of couples, and we work with a lot of couples that are competing with each other. The man is competing with the woman. Or the woman is competing with the man. And they never can quite get it right. So when I think of this story, I'm going to throw Haman in there for a moment, because Haman's ego was an issue. Okay, because he wanted a ring, he wanted recognition. And sometimes we deal with that. That's the internal racism that we're struggling with. We don't want to work for the collective. It's I, me, my. I want to be I want to be this and I want to be that. And so we often will tell couples, but why don't you be this and that to be one? Remember the collective. All right. When the slave women worked in the master's house, they were not in there to get a name. They were in there to get whatever information that they could about whatever they could, to get it to whoever out there so they could run as fast as they could to get the hell out of Dodge. Excuse my French. And we have forgotten.
Good.
We have forgotten that some of us in the house, we getting information, and we need to get that to the field, and our egos need to go. The internal racism that we're struggling with as a people, is destroying those male-female relationships, and we're not being productive. They're either sexual or they're competitive. All right. But we want to get to a point of health. My field is human development, and we want to get to a point where we're healthy, and we want to make sure the community is healthy. It's not about I, me, and my. That's the white male patriarchy that has poisoned our race.
A to the man. You preach. That's a whole word right there. And we have to get healthy. It has been systematically and intentionally infused in Black community to keep us unhealthy and to keep Black men and Black women at odds. We have to heal that. We have to work on that, because Black men and Black women have to work together. And this spirit of competition has to end. So thank you for speaking to that so poignantly. Prophetess Tamika, what would you add to this question?
I would just like to say that everyone has really pointed out some really great things. And if I could just sum up, because I'm in agreement with everything that everyone said. But, we as Black people are dealing with 401 years of oppression here in this country that we call the United States. And we are working really hard as a people to regain trust just among each other. And so, I think at the foundational level of everything, if we're going to improve our relationships between Black women and Black men, there has to be a trust. So, yes, I agree that we have to play our respective roles, right? We have to realize that we are one team.